Leicester City have a penalty kick in the 6th minute of injury time.
Knockout takes, Almunia saves, knockout follows in, Almunia saves again.
And now Watford are on the counter-attack.
Forestieri.
Oh, I don't believe this.
Here's Hulk. Deeney.
I do not believe what I've just seen. Troy Deeney has scored from a Leicester penalty that was saved by Almunia.
Do not scratch your eyes. Do not scratch your eyes. Do not scratch your eyes.
Hello and welcome to the Do Not Scratch Your Eyes podcast. Joining us this time round for the opposition view, Billy from the Oak Road Hatter podcast. Hello, Billy. How are you?
Yes, I'm doing well, thank you. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but the graphics going on at the start were actually quite good. Taking off my Luton hat. I won't say I enjoyed it, but...
Well, listen, that's a compliment. We'll take that. Thank you.
This is nothing but a loving between two old rivals. Maybe not. Who knows? We'll go there. Right. Lots to talk about since obviously we last spoke, which before a certain game, which you will have a certain view on. We will have a different one. There's been all sorts of change. Luton have gone through a managerial change, which is kind of not only encroaching on our managers, but, you know, that's our area of expertise is management change, as you know. So we'll get and talk about a little bit about that and how your season has gone. But obviously we have to go back to October. And I think it was about the 3rd minute, and it didn't get any better after that for you. What were the feelings in the Bedfordshire camp following on from obviously a disappointing game for you guys, a thrilling day for us?
Yeah, it's a difficult one to assess because we went into the game with confidence. We had decent form, if I remember rightly, going into
Very
it.
good.
Our away form, which we'll speak about in more detail, but going into that game, it was good. We put in very good displays against Burnley, got a good result against Burnley. Early on in the season, we thought that could continue into this game against Watford. It was a season, the start of the season where we began to really eliminate the difficult runs of forms we've had against other teams in recent years. We broke the QPR hoodoo, which was massive for us, and we thought that we could go to Watford and do something similar. But as we all know, it didn't really pan out that way.
True. We all had those moments, obviously, but it was a glorious day for us. And you hit us on the one day where I think probably this season we've performed. Obviously, we had gone, relatively speaking, recently we'd had a managerial change and gone to Slaven Bilic, and that was definitely going to be what Slaven will be remembered for, because obviously being at Watford, he hit 25 games, he got a long service medal and a watch, and then he shuffled off, and now we've got Chris Wilder. In the meantime, obviously, you had Southampton come poking around Nathan Jones. He who tends to leave you, not do very well in return. It kind of happened again, but what did everybody think initially when you made the appointment to replace Jones of a certain Rob Edwards of these postcodes recently?
Yeah, it's a strange one again because, of course, very, very recently, Watford manager. Again, I don't think he did too bad of a job. I think listening to you guys before, you sort of realised that he wasn't given the time that perhaps other clubs would give him. And I think going back to the initial appointment, Luton fans respect the decision made by the hierarchy, given what they've done for us. So I think any people that were annoyed by the Watford connections swiftly were reminded of what good the club has done for us and getting it right time and time again, both from a player recruitment point of view and from a managerial perspective, bar Graham Jones, which I don't really want to go into. But I think going into Rob Edwards' tenure as well, we were linked with Neil Critchley for a while.
Yeah.
And again, hindsight's a beautiful thing that we didn't go down that route, given what we saw with QPR. But I think at that point, I was in the Neil Critchley camp. I wanted Neil Critchley. I think the way he's played football, the way he's developed young players, I think everything in my head pointed towards Neil Critchley. But Rob Edwards was still somebody of interest to me. I think what he done at Forest Green, the way he played football, really suited what the future would look like at Luton, given our playing style, given the fact that we wanted to play a little bit more, not possession-based, but we wanted to go through the thirds a little bit more. I think he's achieved that by getting a real balance of playing direct and going through the thirds. So I think stylistically, it was a very good appointment. I thought we'd sort of tail off a little bit. I thought we were going to give him time. Naturally, after the time he had at Watford, he was in search of somewhere that would give him time. Just looking at how we appointed him and what we really wanted was to settle him in and then probably go again for the 23-24 season and then try and push in for the playoffs. But yeah, it's fair to say our expectations have been exceeded. Don't want to get too high as of yet, but
yeah, his strength certainly at Watford seemed to be in and around the man management and in integrating with the players. They seemed to like him a lot. They just didn't really seem to play very good football. One of our suspicions, in fairness, he didn't, you could say he had a curate's egg of a squad. He was never really supported over 10 games. But one of the things I think that we look at and wonder was, you mentioned obviously Forest Green. And Forest Green were going pretty well. They were high up in terms of the budget that he went in. Is he is it a really clever appointment in terms of this year to try to keep a safe pair of hands who keeps the continuity but kind of builds on it a little bit? Is there any kind of is the jury out at Luton in terms of whether or not, after a pre-season and with a full, or are you just completely going with him this season and that's it, end of?
Yeah, it's a fair point you raised, because obviously he's inherited a good squad that was progressing in the right way. You think the majority of championship managers that have gone this season is because they've been underperforming. Obviously under Nathan Jones we were performing at a high level, which earned that sort of interest. So it was a good job for him to walk into. I think that's quite easy to forget. He's walked into a positive situation, which a lot of championship managers don't have the opportunity to. But I think what he has done, he's focused on that continuity, as you say, and I think that's the perfect approach, because we had sort of a playing style that was effective. We've got sort of club ethos that such a good feeling within the squad, from club's hierarchy right down to the fan base, the players. I think you see lots of videos that go out and just how tight the group is. And I think it's that fact of keeping the squad as tight as they are, as friendly as they are. I think Rob Edwards is the perfect manager to come in to continue that. But having Richie Kyle come in, who's more of a possession-based coach, I think that's massive. I think we've seen his impact quite a lot already, which is definitely good from our perspective. But I think that sort of combination, Paul Trollope as well, that's come in, a bit more of an experienced head. It does seem a very strong coaching team that covers all bases, really. And I think that's what we're starting to see now. And I think it helps in the fact of winning games in different ways. We've got sort of an experienced head in Trollope there. We've got Richie Kyle, who's more possession based and looking to break through the thirds. And then we've got Rob Edwards, who off the ball tactically is very good and sets us up probably even better than we were under Nathan Jones.
Yeah, you're not the first person to say that. We have spoken to somebody already who's kind of mentioned this with Rob Edwards and Richie Kyle, because of course they were in the England setup as in or out of possession, I think was the description they gave coaches. They had two different kind of offensive and defensive, I suppose, from the American kind of style of it, working very collectively together. And they seemed, everybody seemed to like them. Everybody who saw them at Watford thought that this was going to be a real kind of cultural architect, and we were going to move away from kind of the constant sacking of managers. Well, of course, that didn't go well. So we're back there. So they're playing good. They're playing good football. We have had a season where we've flattered to deceive. No kind of good performance has been followed up. I think we've had 2 runs of consecutive wins, 1 3 wins and 1 2. And other than that, it's been an absolute pig's ear of a season, to be quite frank. But there we go. You mentioned there earlier on, though. Let's have a look at your home and away form if we can, because I think this is, looking at this and talking to different clubs, it's kind of interesting. There we go. Your home stats there at the top are okay. They're not bad at all. They put you in 11th in the league if you just look at a home league, which is fine. But your away stats are amazing. They are the second best stats in the division, behind only Burnley, I think. And because, of course, you've also got 10 wins. You were the first one to get to 10 wins away. Why has that come about, do you think? Have you been able to follow them much on the road? Is there a different way that you have tended to set up with Rob Edwards now he's taken over? Or has that continuity just flowed all the way through home and away?
Yes, it's a very, very interesting stat there, because it's not just as if we're just about edging it with our points per game away from home. I think it's 0.32 points per game more away, which is typically unheard of, especially in the Championship. I think at the start of the season and last season as well, we did pick up some very important away points by I don't want to say setting up shop, but we had a
Mhm.
clear plan that would sit deeper and go on the counter attack. And I understand that we've moved past that in a sense, but we still set up very, very strong away from home. We're a very difficult team to break down, and we still have that element of trying to hit teams on the counter. I think the main issue that we've had this season is trying to break teams down that come and try and frustrate us. We've seen a shift of, Luton are no longer a team that people can have their way against. People can't have their way against us, really. And I think we're starting to see that people have given us that kind of respect this season, similar to sort of Millwall, I guess, where they're appreciative of the fact that we're difficult to break down, and we've added that element of playing through the thirds, and it's become a little bit more difficult to play. Yeah, I think it's the respect factor. When teams go to Luton now, they realise it's a difficult place to go. They'll set up shop. They will have more of a defensive line than they typically would. I think it's what we started to see at the start of the season. I think that's why we found it a little bit more difficult to pick up points at home. Away from home, typically see the home team go for the win.
Okay.
You typically do that when you're at home. You're more offensive. You bring a game plan that's more offensive and more at it. And I think that's the main reason. I think that's the main reason for it.
So people are coming at you more, leaving spaces in behind, and you're taking advantage of that. Is the pitch at Kenilworth Road? Because I mean, we were talking to people earlier on, and that became a bit of a thing. We'll always have a laugh about how well has the pitch played this year? Because 2 years ago, when we were back in the Championship again, it wasn't the greatest playing surface that you were playing under. You are playing, and we have given compliments to and the whole fan base on our phone in to Luton as a club who are doing all the right things in all the right way. And you have no idea how much it hurts to say that, clearly, right? But they are. You're now playing better football. Is the pitch an adequate playing surface, or are you getting to play on some of the better Championship games away? Or am I just having a go at your groundsman for no good reason?
Kenilworth Road again. That's what you're having a go at, isn't it?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point, because I think, of course, going into this stage of the season, especially with all the rain that we've had in March, it's been crazy. But it hasn't cut up as we've seen in sort of recent years. It's never been the worst playing surface, but obviously it's nothing like some of the best pitches in the division. I'd firmly place it sort of mid-pack in the Championship from what I've seen. Of course, it's quite a tight ground. The pitch is tight itself, makes it a little bit more difficult sometimes to play football, but we do really try to impose ourselves at home now. There's always been this, in my head, there's always been this sort of respect, sort of pendulum, where when we first got promoted back to the Championship, we respected teams too much. But now, we played Burnley recently, and it was one of our best offensive performances without scoring. It sounds very, very strange to say, but the way we approached the game, how front-footed we were against the best team in the league, best team that I've probably seen in the Championship over the last few seasons, it just shows that, we respect teams, but we don't let them play their game. And I think it's quite misleading, the fact that we've only picked up 1.52 points per game at home, because we've put in some really, really strong performances against some of the better teams in the division at home.
Yeah, no, that's very good. I think the flip side of that is, and I think we saw this when we came to your place, as I say, 2 years ago, albeit in lockdown, is the fact that we have some players who might raise it against Burnley, but then don't when it's and they're put off by no offense, but going to places that are less salubrious. And as you say, it's a tight ground, it's difficult conditions. We seem to have a glass jaw with that sort of stuff. You mentioned about the home and away piece as well, just in there. If we look back, if we look at our own recent form, we're at the top there. We've got 4 wins, 6 draws, and 5 defeats. And the reason why I asked about the home and away, you can see the A's and the H's in terms of indicating home and away. It seems to be fairly even under Rob at this moment in terms of the home and away. But what's really dominating there is 8 wins out of 15, 5 draws, and only 2 losses. And of course, this does incorporate a couple of cup games in terms of Grimsby, which obviously would have been disappointing, but probably allowed you to turn around and say, well, we'll concentrate on the league. 1 defeat in the league in that whole bit is pretty bloody tremendous form that you've had under him. Was that how you looked at the cup game, or did you have dreams of having a double or something or other?
Yeah, I think you always have dreams. You always look at the FA Cup. There's, it's always something magical about the FA Cup. But yeah, to say that we've had 16, 17 games under Rob Edwards, only 1 poor performance, and that comes in the FA Cup. I think any Luton fan would take that.
Do not scratch your eyes.
Right, well, before we get to predictions, each week I'm forecasting who I have decided is your star man. And sometimes I get this right, and often I get it very, very wrong. Carlos, which do you prefer?
Often.
Yes, absolutely.
Often.
So
yeah.
My suggestion in terms of your star man, and I appreciate you're very much a kind of an ensemble piece as a squad, but the player who I think has looked kind of, and I hate to say it because at the start of the season I said, God, what a donkey, was Carlton Morris. 16 goals, 4 assists. When I have seen him on occasions, he has actually been genuinely unplayable. Don't get me wrong, there have been some times when I've looked at him and gone, really? But he has done very, very well. Would you pick him out as your star man, or is there somebody pulling the strings who you would suggest has been, kind of launching towards your kind of player of the season?
Yeah, as you sort of picked up on it, again, there's a lot of players in contention for that player of the season. But yeah, Carlton Morris has been a fantastic addition. We forked out £1.6 million for it, which doesn't seem much to you boys, I'm sure. But for us, that was, it was a hefty fee. And he's justified that already. He's probably, if we were looking to sell him in the summer, we've probably tripled or even, 5 times our money, but looking at the Championship market. So yeah, from a developmental perspective, yes. He has been brilliant. It's not just his goals as well. I think he's 3rd or 4th in the goal scoring charts. Hold up players. I think you mentioned him as a monster there, and that's exactly what he is. He's got the pace as well to get in behind, keeps defenders guessing, links up well with Adebayo, who hasn't had the best goal scoring season, but he's still been a real threat. Just the pair of them together have caused chaos for a lot of defences this season, and Morris has truly been one of the best arrivals I've seen at Luton in terms of instant and probably sustained impact as well, because he's kept it going all season. I think for me, my pick of the bunch at the moment is Alfie Doughty.
Excellent news. Well done. We'll just add that to the incorrect list.
It's very, very close. It is very, very close.
Oh, don't flatter him. Just say he's bollocksed it up. Just say it how it is. Yeah.
I'd say if you asked me maybe 2 weeks ago, it would have probably still been Morris, but Doughty's just been rising at a very, very exciting rate. And I haven't seen a left wing back like him in the division. He's so athletic. He gets up the pitch very, very well. He doesn't stop running, but he's also got quality. He's also got a real sledgehammer of a shot. Crossing ability is good. He takes some of the set pieces now. He's just grown in confidence, and yeah, he's somebody that I think, looking back at last season, I didn't look at the squad and think, oh, this player would generate interest from the Premier League. But I think now we've got a collection of maybe 3, 4, probably maybe even stretching it to 5 players that quite happily say would feature on Premier League radars.
That's the danger now, though, isn't it? Because it's happened to Watford. You've had these players that have done really well, and credit to them, but they are now starting to appear on clubs also in the Championship and in the Premier League, and it's happened to us. And that's the bit that's the hardest bit to maintain and to stay where you are, trying to constantly turn them players over, because like you've just said, you've signed a player for 1.something million. If a bid for 10 million comes in, even if it's Watford, anyone, they're gonna go for it.
Also, is that an official transfer bid?
No, I don't. No. Not direct from. We don't buy direct from Luton. We buy via somewhere else.
Oh, okay.
Also, there's a pattern here, Peter, that if we speak to these podcasts 2 weeks earlier, you've got it right.
Yeah.
for the player of the season, everyone goes, well, 2 weeks ago I'd have said that, Peter, but no, there's a better player.
I suspect that's a bone being thrown in my direction, and I don't get me wrong, I'm very grateful for it. That's fine, that'll do me. You mentioned obviously in terms of Doughty there as a wing back. One of the things, and we never really got to see it, buying a wing back for Rob Edwards was like everybody's wish last summer. It never happened. And we all knew from Forest Green Rovers, well, we wanted a right wing back, and he played Hassan Kamara there, who's the most left-footed player. Every time we got the ball, he turned right and ended up in the Graham Taylor stand. Not good. And when he was at Forest Green Rovers, what was his name? Kane Wilson. The wing backs were really pivotal, and he ended up getting a shed load of assists and really bombing on, getting the Division 2 or the League 2, player of the season and coming on. Has Doughty's rise coincided with the last kind of 16 games then with Rob Edwards?
Yeah, I think so. I think the difficulty he had at the very start of Edwards' tenure was the fact that we had a lot of defensive injuries. That hasn't really changed. We still have a fair few injuries in our back line, but it forced Doughty to play right wing back. And don't get me wrong, he did a very good job, but it didn't really translate into assists and sort of the chance creation aspects. But since it's been last maybe stretch of 10 games playing left wing back, he's really cemented himself as a key threat for us, and probably the Kane Wilson of the Championship in the fact that he's so advanced on the pitch. As soon as Coulter Morris gets the ball and turns, Doughty's there bombing on. He's just a real athlete that's not scared to take a player on. He's not scared to do something different. And it's strange because he was a Nathan Jones signing that Nathan Jones didn't really get the best out of him, mainly due to the fact because he was injured for quite a large point. But it just seemed that when Edwards came in, it did seem that Doughty was going to shine under him. He just seemed perfect for how Edwards wants to play, and I think we're reaping the rewards of that now.
I like that description. The Kane Wilson of the Championship, ignoring, of course, the fact that Kane Wilson has signed for Bristol City and is in the Championship.
But he's not playing.
Sorry, Kane Wilson, you're no longer the Kane Wilson of the Championship.
You're that bad.
Says how things have gone. There we go.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Luton Town. 1, 2, 3. 3 players who have played for both Watford and Luton. And what we're going to ask you to do, Billy, is first of all go, Christ almighty, I'm far too young. I don't remember half of those. That's fair enough. You do that. But then decide who is going to be in bronze, who's going to be silver, and who's going to be gold in terms of their legacy as you see it. Doesn't have to be definitive, just as you see it, in terms of Luton Town. And then Justin and Karl will basically bicker and squabble and do the same thing for Watford. Okay, so here we go. In terms of
God,
I think I know all 3.
I think I know, but there's a rogues gallery, isn't it? Good.
Yeah.
First of all, let's ask Justin. Could you name any of one of those players?
I can name all 3, Peter. I'm going to name the one on the left, which is the words just stick in my throat. This is Kerry Dixon.
This is Kerry
Dixon. I was right. It was
indeed. We'll go to our guest, Billy. Sir, would you like to name any one of the 3 that we have? Obviously, Kerry Dixon's gone, so one of the remaining 2.
Yeah, I'll take the easy way out and go on the right. Andre Gray.
There we go. And
definitely had his teeth done, isn't he? He's definitely had his teeth done, Andre, since moving up the Football League. Yeah. I'll go central then, obviously, and it's Alec Chamberlain.
Alec Chamberlain, very good.
Are the fingers that Andre's holding up there, the amount of goals he got in the 2020-21 season? I'm not sure.
I think when he scored those goals, he thought, I'm that far away from getting a contract at Watford. That's how many years it was.
I still think there's an undercurrent that Luton sent him here on a mission to make us miserable.
Yeah. We basically have Nathan Ellington and Andre Gray, and if we play one of the clubs who've got them, they're in this rogues gallery every time. Just comedy gold. So we turn to Billy and ask, and I appreciate, do you remember Kerry Dixon and Alec Chamberlain, or do you know of them?
I know both the names. Kerry Dixon, I know that he was a striker and scored a fair few goals for Luton over the years, but yeah, I'm too young to remember him. Well, I wasn't even born when he was playing. Alec Chamberlain, to be fair, I know the name, but I couldn't tell you anything about his Luton stint. But then Andre Gray, yeah, that was the good old conference days. Scored a shed ton of goals. So yeah,
he did. He scored loads, didn't he? Yeah.
Fairly
Why did we
obvious.
sign him? We signed him for so much money and he got Luton out the conference. It pisses me off. It really does.
Yeah, but it was the conference. It was the conference,
Yeah.
not the Premier League.
Should I? That's what I meant when I said Andre will score goals at that level. I meant the conference,
Well
not
done.
the championship. Yeah.
This is true. This is true. So, and I appreciate that you're going to go, hold on, I don't know who they were, but one of our many catchphrases is we won't let a lack of knowledge get in the way of having an opinion. You've seen us. So you're going to have to give one of these players the bronze medal in terms of their legacy at Luton, as you think. Yeah, which player would you go for in terms of you think the third best level of legacy, knowing what you know?
Yeah, that is very difficult. I put Andre Gray third because I know that it was in the conference. It was in the fifth tier.
Done.
Of
I like Billy.
Oh,
Billy's
Billy,
a nice guy.
This is a level of balance and reason that we've never seen before here.
If I could buy you a beer on Saturday, I would, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, you've got to get off the coach, straight into the ground, straight back on the coach again. So, yeah.
Not-
You know
so-
that third is the worst, right? You know that third is the bronze position.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Brilliant.
You
Excellent.
haven't got to explain. You know,
No,
the Olympics
I
has
just
been
wanna
around for a long time,
I
and
want to make double sure that you're putting Andre in the lowest position.
This is true. This is true. We had Chad, right, who is a Sheffield United fan, and we put up Tony Curry, who's like a Sheffield United legend, and he went, he's from America. No, I don't know him. Who's he? I never heard of him. So he put him in third, and then he went, yeah, I was right because third is the best, isn't it? And he was like, don't change the rules on us now. Crazy American. Right, so who's gonna take second place, do we think, then, between Kerry Dixon and Alec Chamberlain? Both did, in fairness, sterling service for Luton. Only one did it for Watford, but there we go. We won't hold that against him. Who's going to take silver?
I'm going to go Alec Chamberlain based on my lack of knowledge of Alec Chamberlain. I want to say 80s, maybe early 90s at Luton, but yeah, that is a big guess. But yeah, I think that's based on my lack of knowledge of what he's done.
If we look at Chambo turning out for Watford, and indeed as basically some form of fetus
great facial
for Luton,
great facial expressions.
Mr. Logic right there. Yeah. Mr. Logic on the left-hand side from Viz. Look it up. That is Mr. Logic from Viz. Bloody hell.
We see Alec Chamberlain as an absolute hero, but you've got to say, Alec, what was going on with your tongue, and why doesn't it fit in your mouth in that photograph there? That's just odd. That's just odd. Doesn't matter. He's a legend. We'll take the piss nonetheless. Which means Kerry Dixon. Are there any? Oh, hello. What's that?
It's Mr. Logic.
Hold on. We're going to zoom in on Karl here and have a look.
It's the haircut. Put it down.
It's the haircut. Oh, can you? Oh, it's the haircut.
Oh,
yeah.
How on earth is that Mr. That's just
it does look like it. No, I'll give Justin that. He's done well there.
As we said, this podcast has got no better. So in terms of Kerry Dixon, he did. He came and scored some good goals for you, and I think if I remember rightly, I think you got to an FA Cup semi-final, ironically against Chelsea, who was his team.
He was Chelsea, wasn't he?
He was Chelsea. He started at Reading, scored a load of goals, got a move to Chelsea. And he was there for probably the best part of a decade, and then he kind of moved on to you guys. But no, he did well there. Okay, guys. In that case, who are you going to put bronze? Because for us, for once, this is a dilemma.
This is a massive dilemma.
It is a dilemma.
I mean, Kerry, can I also mention, by the way, what's going on with that baseball kind of type kit? I mean, that's kind of a weird one, isn't it? Is that a design classic or is it awful? I don't know. Enough of that. Who are you going to put bronze? Who are you going to put bronze, gents? You got Andre. Andre has a chance of silver, I would suggest.
No,
potentially. No. Not leading the witness.
Are we still agreed on Andre, Justin, that he can't be?
Well, can I just say, I don't remember a Watford player being booed quite as much as Kerry Dixon when he was at Watford. I mean, we were booing him. However,
there were fights in the away ground at Southend, at the away end, but basically because some people were going, kind of just cheering him, and then other people go, "Are you cheering him?" and hitting them, and then it just all kicked off. It was it was ridiculous.
Big time controversial. However,
there we are.
I do base a lot of my things on Andre's fee and his wages,
and the fact he was sent to us by Luton.
I can't stand the guy. I think purely for that final season where anything he did irritated the Watford fans. I mean, we're talking just being Andre, breaking the lockdowns, the massive fee, the massive wages, the fact he was crap.
The massive chip on his shoulder, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to have to put Andre third, definitely. He was so shit for us, and he will go down as one of the shittest players we've ever signed, and the most reviled player as well. His attitude is shit.
Right. So Justin, what are you trying to say there?
I think what I'm trying to say is I fucking hated the guy, and I couldn't wait for him to leave. Third, Andre Gray. Carlos?
I'm not going to go against him on that, am I? So yeah, we'll stick Andre with the bronze. Do we actually have to give him bronze? Can we not give him a medal? Yeah.
Okay, so that's fine. So we're going with lanyard, silver, and gold.
Lanyard.
That sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
That sounds perfectly acceptable. Kerry Dixon is about to get the cheapest ever silver medal going, because he played for us for about 6 or 7 games. He was signed from Millwall, because you'd gone, no, your legs are gone. You go to Millwall. He went to Millwall. They said his legs had gone. And then we went and signed him, because Jack Petchey had this policy where when Glenn Roeder went to him and said, I want to sign a striker, and the one he wanted was 31 years old at the time, Paul Wilkinson, who had been on loan and also obviously played for us previously, was fabulous, and 31 still had legs on him. Petchey would always insist that he would go to him with an alternative that was 1/3 of the total cost of ownership of the whole contract and the wage. And of course, Millwall were like, you want who? Yeah, of course you can have him. You know, we thought he might still have a trick in him, but no, go. So he came along, and then Graham Taylor came back. Graham Taylor would have known Kerry Dixon when he was absolutely in his prime and ripping it up for Chelsea and England. But what we had was that shot, basically, as static as it is on the left, that was about as quick as he moved. So, fair enough.
Yeah.
But of course, what can you say about what's his name?
Mr. Logic.
Mr. Logic. Chambo played near to 300 games, 250 games for the Hornets. He was also goalkeeping coach. He was with us for 20 years, and I think he played about 150 games for Luton as well. So I mean,
yeah.
He was one of the ones, along with Matty Spring. I don't know if you remember Matty Spring, who came along and actually went, you know what? He turned out for the other seaman. I
always remember that goal he scored against us in the League Cup, Matty Spring. Absolute thunderbolt. Yeah. The night where it all kicked off. But
the corner flags.
Corner flags, yeah. But no, he was a great player for us, Matty Spring.
That photo there, Peter, of Chambo punching the ball out.
Sean Dyche under his armpit.
Sean Dyche, but I also recognise the back of the head of Neil Ardley there, I believe. It looks like Neil Ardley, the back of his head, I think.
I'm not going to ask the question as to how you know what the back of Neil Ardley's head looks like.
I'm just saying, it looks like Neil Ardley.
Hey, what happened between you and Neil in the 90s? That's completely okay.
Yeah.
We don't talk about that. So we come to the complete BNS Prediction League. Yes, it's here. It returned.
Hooray.
Now, things have actually happened. Things have actually happened in the last.
Am I still bottom?
Games. Oh, and some. Right?
Oh, right, okay.
But Justin, in the last 2 games, has got 4 points. He called a Watford win versus Birmingham City. You called a Watford win. You also got a point. Everybody got a point against Birmingham. But also, he called 1-1 for Wigan on the basis that you'd gone for a 1-0 win.
1-1. Yeah,
the wonderful Barry had gone for a 1-0 Wigan win. And let's face it, we did our best to oblige him, but somehow scored.
Yeah, we did.
So the league points at the moment are Carlos is on 14 points. The EFL is on 16 points. And 5 points in the distance, Justin is at the top.
Well, there's only one way to describe this. Absolutely horse shit, this game.
It is absolute rubbish. We know this. It started off badly. It tailed off towards the middle, and the less said about the latest bits, the better. But other than that, it's been superb. Billy, we turn to you as our guest, sir, and say Luton Town versus Watford, 3:00 Saturday. What's your forecast for the game?
Maybe if I do take the optimistic route, it might go well for me. So I'm going to go 2-0 Luton.
God, please not that.
Oh, that hurt.
Please not that.
Keep going.
I'll be going home at 60 minutes. Oh, I can't.
You won't be. You've got to wait for the bus. Give me 5-0 down and we're like, oh, for fuck's sake.
This is going to be great.
Let me out.
Well, Carlos, it's your chance to make up some points.
I'm going to play this tactically, right? Because the way I look at this now is if I get this score right, I get points, which means I get closer to Justin. If I get it wrong, it means that we get a positive result. So I'm going to get shot, but I'm going to go for Luton 2, Watford 1. Yeah, tactics. Bosh, have that. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
I think they're small tactics, but if that's what you want to do, that's fine. I think they're dreadful tactics, frankly. I just think they are.
Well, tell me I'm wrong.
In fairness, Carl, you've tried to do whatever you've been doing and it's not worked so far. So
I might
change of
try
direction
something
is
else.
probably overdue. That's fine.
Yeah.
Justin, what level of 1-1 are you probably going to go for again?
Probably 100%, Peter.
There you go.
You know, if you give me 1-1 now, I'll take that.
Let me explain why though.
I'll take that.
We're not going to score many goals because we just don't. So our idea of being up for it will be to take a draw, I think. So let's go for 1-1. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go for. Honestly, do you know what? The fact that we won the home tie or our home tie, if they win the away tie, it cancels it out. Fine, that's fine. Obviously, I prefer to win it. But I think let's go for a draw, and that way, you know,
you're still going for a draw because then we've still got some sort of bragging rights. Is that what you're
4
saying?
points out of 6, I think.
Until they're promoted to the Premier League.
Well, at that point, of course, we cut Billy off.
we won't
have to speak to Billy then, will we? Because we'll be a championship.
Well, that's the point. Yeah. We'll
Really
see when you come back down, Billy. Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So 1-1 for me.
Here comes Billy with all his money, and all that. Yeah, I know. We know seething. We know seething resentment. We've done it for the last 10 years. Anyway, there we go. So we've got two of the participants are going for Luton wins, and there's a draw. Now we do have a history with this.
Did you go 2-1 Watford, Carl, or did you go 2-1 Luton?
No, you went 2-1 Luton.
Oh, fuck me. I thought you went 2-1 Watford.
No.
Christ. That might be why I was mocking you. I was mocking you because you went 2-1 Watford.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not stupid.
Now
I'm for a Watford win.
No, you're right. Okay, sorry.
Billy, hopefully through the confusion, you get the sense of confidence in which we're going into this game.
Yeah, no, 2-1 Luton. I'm with you on that. Yeah. Well done. I can't pick that, so I'll go 1-1.
Yeah, we're still sponsored by the Samaritans. Never mind. It's fair to say that whilst we won the Battle of Vicarage Road, you are definitely winning the war of this season so far.
Yeah.
I think in order for us to have any hope, and we know we're talking about like mathematical hope and no real hope, we have to go and get 3 points. We would have to see our lads actually do what they did the last time we played Luton, and suddenly turn up and remind themselves that they're professional footballers of good standing, paid an incredible amount of money, and actually put a shift in. But we will see. I
don't think they're going to be ready for that atmosphere because, I know a few of the lovely people of Bedfordshire up the road, and they're going to be bang up for this game, bang up for it. So yeah. So this is your first Derby day at Kenilworth Road since you've been a Luton fan?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wasn't allowed to the one in 2005, 2006.
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed back then. So I've got a lot of years of making up to do.
Oh, fair play.
That was our 2-1 win, wasn't it? Because I remember Henderson got the first. Who scored the second? Was it? And was the game? I think
Mackay got the second one, didn't he?
And Ashley Young got sent off, didn't he, towards the end? Yeah. No.
Yeah, Malky, yeah.
No, fair enough. Well, we will see how things go at Kenilworth Road.
Do not scratch your eyes.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you very much for joining us once again, Billy.